I almost ended up running behind, but I am right on time, thank goodness. Welcome to Kalari's Craft and Chat. I am your host, Kalari GXE, and this is my bi-weekly program where on Tuesdays and Fridays I get on, I paint my 3D models, and I talk about the week in social issues, politics, or even just reviews. Like last Talking Chat, I pretty much talked about Peacemaker and the parallels of our current American society. We did watch the follow up episode to that. It was really good, but we're not going to do that kind of review today because there is way too much going on. I just want to thank everybody who has been watching, supporting this stream. I know that coming back, you were used to me in the bonnet ranting, but I feel like this is way more relaxing, way more easier on my nerves, and I still get to bring my opinions to this topic, and I've got some great news to share with everybody. I am now a Tripo Studios affiliate. You might ask yourself, ooh, that's my sound alerts. You might ask yourself, what is Tripo Studios? Well, if you've been watching these talking chats, you'll know that I make my own 3D figures. And here we have um, Harmony Bear, which I just made earlier today because I'm just doing a line of different Care Bears. I've shown you Share Bear, I've shown you Grumpy Bear. We just made this Funshine Bear that has to be painted as well. And we're going to be doing the Care Bear cousins today. It's going to be Lots of Love Lamb. And I'm really excited because she's one of my favorites. Tripo Studios reached out to me in the email. I told you that the last talking chat, and they want me to be an affiliate. What that means is if you sign up under the code that I have, you will be able to join the Tripo Studios family. It is free. Each month I get 300 points. I'm allowed to use 3D pictures or regular 2D pictures, and I can create just about anything with this studio for my personal use, for gifts for friends. I've been totally into like the 80s stuff from my childhood. So I've been doing Rainbow Bright figures. As you can see here, she looks amazing. I've got this one that I cannot wait to print out. I've got the filament coming for it today. It's probably in the mailbox as we speak. A Rainbow Bright on Starlight with her little star buddy. There's just little things like that that I love. So I just want to get this out of the way. Once again, the links will be in the description box when I upload it to YouTube and in Twitch as I do my editing. But I'm going to launch this video really quick while I get my paints and stuff just situated to let you see Tripo Studios live because they really are amazing. Very integrated and innovative. And that, my friends, was Tripo Studios. And once again, I am an affiliate with Tripo Studios. I will have my affiliate link within the show notes from now on. You can join for free, 300 points a month, no matter what. You start at the middle of the month, you use up your 300 points. Don't worry, at the first, you will get new points. Tripo Studios has been amazing. I am grateful to be an affiliate with them, and I want to thank them for taking a shot with my cast and my show. But back to the grind, as usual. We've had a really rough week if you have any brains and are not, we deep into the MAGA Kool-Aid, you'll notice that we're in a government shutdown. And that is just another blow to our economy that our country didn't need right now. I'm going to play this quick news clip, and let me get the art reference up for Lots of Love Lamb here. And then I think I might even bop over her printing as well. Let's get that up and move that over here, because she was as much fun to print as she is going to be to paint. Let's move you over here. And the thing is, a lot of people are like, "Oh, shut down." It's because this government wants to give free healthcare to immigrants, which, especially illegal immigrants, is impossible. And I'm going to break down why. But let's listen to this quick reference video of what's going on from Zoo TV, because I'm going to do my best to debunk all the right-wing lies that are currently going on about why this government is shutting down.
Live look at the U.S. Capitol as the government shutdown enters day 3. Tensions on Capitol Hill are escalating. Senators set to vote on a short-term funding bill later today, but with little movement so far, there is growing speculation about whether moderate lawmakers might break from party lines to end the stalemate. KHOU11's Jalissa Garza gives us a look at what to expect in Washington and why some say the political stakes could get even higher.
Senators are expected to gavel in later today for a vote on a funding bill, but Professor Mike Yon of Sam Houston State University tells me don't expect a deal just yet. Both parties remain firmly divided on key issues like Medicaid, healthcare subsidies, and spending caps. And according to Professor Yon, real compromise is unlikely, at least today.
Probably more of the same, Jalissa. It's probably going to be a lot of finger pointing, a lot of blame, a lot of political rhetoric. I don't think we will see a deal this afternoon.
He says
No, and to pause that, we are going to see a lot of people, because they know the midterms are coming up, to posturing and trying to get sound bites, and that's not what we need right now. This government shutdown has furloughed hundreds of thousands, if not more, American citizens that provide essential services, all because this bigoted bunch of GOP assholes want to lie and say that, "Oh, we're just trying to stop illegal immigrants from getting health insurance," which I'm going to tell you right now, it's fucking not happening. It's not possible. If somebody's in this country without proper paperwork, they are laying low. Point blank, period. They are not putting themselves into a position where they could be traced digitally or paper-wise. So let's get that point blank fact out there for the dummies in the room. If you are in a country illegally, the last thing you want is actual paperwork that can trace you back to any kind of health care. It's not happening. So that is just basic common sense. But also, in order to fill out such forms for Medicaid and Medicare, because they are state and federal forms, you have to prove you are a legal or naturalized U.S. citizen. There's no illegal immigrants benefiting from state or federal health insurance. But you got these liars just completely parroting this Trump propaganda, and it's fucking frustrating.
Path to a deal may depend on moderate lawmakers, particularly those from swing states.
You're looking at people from, say, New Hampshire, Maine. Angus King has already voted in favor of the Republicans. Jeanne Shaheen, who is not running for...
Yeah, assholes who aren't running for re-election, and other assholes who have always kowtowed to fascism. I really hope you remember those names. I really hope when they come up for re-election, except for the ones who are quitting and think, well, I don't have skin in the game anymore, so why should I care? I hope you remember that these are the people that said millions of Americans who are here because they were either born here or they are legally resident here are now going to suffer without health care because I just don't care. I want to kowtow to the MAGA fascists.
Re-election and comes from a swing state. I think some of those people will be highly pressured And both parties are looking, though, to exploit the weaknesses or the weak links in the other party.
And that strategy could mean targeting blue states directly. Yon says President Trump is using the shutdown as a political tool, threatening to cancel grants and cut funding for agencies in Democratic strongholds.
Yeah, let's just put it on the table. He's already told New York that infrastructure bill that was already negotiated to help the Holland Tunnel, I believe, the tunnel that we've used daily under the Hudson Bay, he's not going to fund that. He's told several other cities that billions of dollar projects are not going to happen under his watch because he is a fucking literal douchebag. And people are okay with this because, hey, we want to be able to put people down because we are mediocre. And we don't feel right that other people have the nerve to be better than us and stuff. The gloves are off now because this has been a week of fuckery, especially when it concerns the military. So I am not in a good mood, y'all. Even painting one of my favorite Care Bears cousins, I am really, really trying hard to keep my thoughts coherent as I go over all this week of fuckery.
Professor Yon also told me healthcare could be a turning point, with voters in both parties feeling the heat over potential coverage losses or rising costs. So while today may bring more political posturing, the longer this drags on, the greater the pressure on lawmakers to compromise. And even if today's bill fails, senators are already planning to vote again on Monday. Reporting in the newsroom, Julissa Garza, KHOU 11 News.
Live look at the U.
And like I said, it really is on us while we still have the ability to, because don't think they're not trying to come after that. Do not think they're not trying to completely eradicate our rights to vote. When they get their way with this, because as you hear, we have people who have literally no skin left in the game, considering jumping over to the Republican side, feeding that lie that, oh, it's just to protect from illegal immigrants, which is bullshit. It is going to hurt millions of insured American citizens. It is going to raise the prices of RX drugs to a point where you're going to have to choose. Do I pay a bill this month, or do I get the medicine I need to live? Do I skip maybe a few grocery runs because I need my heart medication, I need my blood pressure medication, I need this or that? It is sick the way they are ham-fisting this regime and literally running our country like a low-ranking mob boss. But we're going to get to more of that as I continue to try to bring it down, paint, and find my zen through painting. But I'm telling you, these next few segments have me infuriated. I am not joking. It has been a trial, y'all, getting through a lot of this, because it didn't have to be this way. It didn't. We literally have a government that is working against the people instead of for the people. So let's bring up one of my new favorites. I've featured him a couple of times now. I'm going to keep featuring him because he says what I think, and he says it a lot better. Here is Cowboy Paul with this latest Trumpian nonsense. It just never stops, y'all. It never stops.
Went screaming by another fascist red flag, and it seems like the corporate media just doesn't even want to talk about it.
Yep.
Yeah. This old Texas Paul, hope your coffee's as good as mine. Yeah. I hope it's better. I really do.
I'm a tea drinker.
Yeah, this is kind of a biggie, and you don't hear shit on the corporate media.
Nope.
See, whenever all the furloughed people that do their jobs for you every day working for the government are forced out on furlough because of a shutdown, they leave a voicemail saying, hey, we'll be back when the shutdown's over. Well, the Trump regime ordered them to leave a voicemail that says it's the Democrats' fault that they're not there. That is forced political speech.
Yep.
And that is a huge red flag for fascism. Mm-hmm. That is a no-no. And y'all know me. I would normally be the guy that says, okay, you want to do that? When we take power, we'll do the same damn thing. But no. No, I can't think of anything more un-American than...
Exactly. He said it and corrected himself. But there are a lot of people who, this week alone, has taught me that we literally have a generation of tit for tat. I was going to feature the Midas Touch earlier, and I'm glad I didn't because I listened to their live stream, and they're literally going, well, we need politicians that can clown with the president on Twitter. Because, that's the politician's job, not legislating, not keeping our government functioning properly and passing laws and bills that help all of us. They want politicians wasting their time getting zingers against a man who literally doesn't know where he is most of the time. Trump is literally a walk-in fucking dementia patient at this point. Yet you have these both siders. So I'm glad. Welcome, Red Baron. I'm glad you made it, dear. I'm glad that Texas Paul corrected himself, but you would be surprised how many liberals and Democrats, because not all Democrats are all that liberal. There are moderate pragmatists like me who I used to believe that you could have bipartisanship. I used to really believe that if a Republican is doing his or her job, they are worthy of that spot. And now I am seeing them fall in line to fascism. And the nerve of people who claim to be talking heads for the Democratic Party saying shit like, well, we got to get more like Trump. We got to spend time on Twitter dunking on him. Life is already dunked on that motherfucker. He's literally rotten from the inside out in front of us. But you got these maniacs out here saying this nonsense. And I am so glad that cooler heads are starting to see how ridiculous this is. But I digress. Let's let Texas Paul
force political speech. I can't think of anything right off the top of my head that is more un-American than forced political speech. That is North Korean bullshit.
Yep.
And we don't do that. And the Republicans are telling you they're okay with it.
Yep.
They're fine with it.
They are.
100% they're fine with it.
They think they're going to benefit.
That's who they are. When people tell you who they are, you believe them. And this isn't just one in a series of red flags that we've seen happen. Donald Trump says he's going to start firing our military leadership that he doesn't like. And, when Trump regimes speak, that translates to anybody that won't do exactly what I tell them to do. And this is the kind of thing that they're telling them to do. So, folks, you need to be involved. You need to be engaged. You need to pay attention. I'm very proud of my Democrats for standing up. The shutdown is not their fault. This is how democracy works. This is what making the sausage looks like. Yeah. You compromise. And at the end of the compromise, not everybody's 100% happy. That's the way it works. It's ugly. It is. Democracy is ugly and complicated. And I'm very proud of my Democrats for standing up for democracy. Well, folks,
And that's the thing that I don't think people understand as they say things like, well, what are the Democrats doing? Their jobs. They did not want to risk millions of Americans being potentially kicked off state and federal funded insurance, which helps millions of seniors, disabled, and regular Americans who have low incomes right now. And whether people want to accept it or not, it is not the top wealthy that keep our economy running. It is the poor, the working, and the middle class families, and even the single folks who bust their ass, buy things, and keep our economy going. It is the immigrants that people keep demonizing, that keep our trades going and rocking and our businesses prospering. But we allow these hateful people to lie and literally and easily debunk lie at this point. I can't even argue with the MAGA loyal because you can't get through to them that it is ridiculously impossible for somebody without proper legal paperwork to get any kind of health insurance here in America like that. They just want to believe because their bigoted beliefs will allow them to enact this cruelty. And what's frustrating and infuriating is they know in their hearts that that's not the case, but they don't care. Exactly. Losing insurance is something that will devastate American families. It is already almost impossible if you get a serious health issue to recover. Last year, when I was in the hospital for hypocalcemia caused by low vitamin D and low calcium, I nearly stroked out because the blood vessels in my body was not getting enough from the red blood cells that were needed to pump blood through my heart. And I didn't realize that I wasn't taking care of my calcium and vitamin D levels. If it wasn't for my health insurance, I could have possibly died. And I still had to forgo work, forgo jobs. So I ended up asking for help, which was funnily used against me, even though I was asking my Twitter followers for that help. People don't understand how health issues can make shit pile up. And that is why it is infuriating to me that this current administration or regime want to put American citizens through that nightmare on purpose because they want to push a bigoted agenda that harms all of us, not just some of us. There will be so many of us harmed by these awful, disgusting policies. Now, I'm going to bring up this week in the military again because I ranted a little bit on Tuesday about it, but I don't think people understand how offensive this is to me. I grew up in a military family. I have grandfathers and a father who sacrificed in war for this country. For Pete Hesgerf, as I like to call him, and Donald Dumpy draft dodging Trump to sit there in front of our top military generals and insult them to their faces. On top of making a national security nightmare, a literal fucking nightmare by announcing to the world we are going to put every single top brass official in one room for a fucking equivalent of a frat boy pep rally. But I'm going to let Lawrence O'Donnell speak for a bit so that he can convey what I am feeling right now after that insanity that I listened to.
Facing an emergency tonight. And no, it is not the emergency of the clock ticking to midnight without legislated funding for the American government. We've seen that clock tick to midnight before on nights like this. The emergency the United States of America is facing tonight is an emergency the United States of America has created for the world. And that emergency is that the President of the United States, in his public appearance today, proved that he is mentally incapable and emotionally incapable of fulfilling his constitutional duties as President of the United States. In other words, there is no President of the United States as we knew it.
Exactly.
There is no functioning intelligence, no functioning judgment mechanism within the mind of the current holder of the title, President of the United States. And that person is also the holder of the nuclear codes that could destroy the planet in seconds. And he is, much to the horror of the commanding officers of the American military who listened to him today, the commander-in-chief of the most powerful military in the history of the world. Much of the news media made the mistake of believing that all of the American commanding generals and admirals were being summoned to Quantico, Virginia to listen to the small man of small experience who is currently the Secretary of Defense. That was obviously a fraudulent reason for demanding that all the generals and admirals fly from all over the world, leaving their command posts, to listen to a speech. It was obvious.
It had to be a clearance nightmare. It had to be, like, if somebody had wanted to attack at that moment, because it was so well advertised that this was all of our top brass. People from as far as both the Middle East to Japan were summoned in for insults and disrespect. To be told their job by a literal draft dodger and a man with more issues that should have disqualified him from becoming the Secretary of War, because we can no longer call it the Secretary of Defense. These are dark times.
Always just a setup for Donald Trump to harangue that audience with what turned out to be stream of consciousness madness, complete with hallucinations and an endless stream of pathological lies. A group of officers who earned their jobs in ways that Donald Trump never could, had to sit there and listen to a clown who stood before them in what appears to be a homemade brew of orange makeup slathered all over his face because he thinks it makes him look better.
Nope.
And I guess maybe we should accept Donald Trump's judgment about that one thing, that the madman orange makeup he slathers on himself makes him look better. Maybe it does. We don't know. Maybe the actual sight of the actual color of his 79-year-old skin is much worse than the orange clown confection that he chooses, but we don't know.
Exactly.
Or maybe the orange junk on his face is yet another proof that the man has no capacity to make a judgment about anything, including the way he looks. Never mind nuclear weapons. What was he thinking backstage when his Secretary of Defense, who had to promise to stop drinking to get confirmed by the Senate, insulted all of the commanding officers in the room with this kind of idiocy?
It's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad.
First of all, if you get to the point of being a general and a commander, it means you have done more than your fair share of service to our country. And the fact that he could say that, ignoring that a lot of high-ranking officials were also technicians, which means they might not see battlefield, but they were intricate in winning different conflicts by taking care of repairs, by handling crisis if they were communications, by doing covert stealth if they were intelligence. Pete Hersgerf, because I hate saying his name, and I always try to fuck up his last name. I don't give a fuck. People do it to my first name all the time. And my screen name, has no idea, even as a reservist, because I need to remind you, he was a fucking reservist, what entails getting to that position in our military. He has no respect for it. And I am fucking sick of him already.
And it's not who we are.
Okay, Pete. How about fat presidents? How about a president who has been fat every day of his political career? Is that a bad look?
I think
all
so.
of those generals
Not
can
bad.
button their uniform jackets. All of those admirals can, every one of them.
Yep.
So there's the Secretary of Defense, who may or may not be managing his reported drinking problem, telling all of those commanding officers that they better never look as bad as Donald Trump, who can't even button his suit coat jacket. There was some suspense in the room today when Donald Trump was giving his speech. There was no suspense about would he cross the line that you never cross with the military as president and get political. Everyone knew he was going to do that. Everyone knew that he doesn't know there's a line. Everyone knew he was going to foolishly waste the admirals and generals' time telling them about how many swing states he wanted. And of course he did. The suspense in the room was whether the very, very tired, almost sleepy 79-year-old man at the microphone was going to make it through that 1 hour and 11-minute speech. And there were times in the middle of a sentence that it would seem like he just might drop right there, might not even finish that sentence. And what he seemed to be showing to the generals and the world is that he might not have the physical strength to make it through the 3 years, 3 months, and 20 days left of his presidency. Is that what has given J.D. Vance such a spring in his step lately? Is that why the vice president looks so happy these days?
I always said it felt like J.D. Vance was just their backup plant because he's another yes man, only a bit younger, bit more heavy on the eyeliner and couch fucking. But he will do what the Republicans want him to do. He is as much as a puppet as his current predecessor is, only he's more palatable to their needs. And it is scary right now that some people just, they won't see it. They refuse.
Donald Trump has never looked physically weaker or wearier than he did today. Weaker in every sense of that word, physically, mentally. Because Donald Trump is uneducable. He still doesn't understand why he walked into a room of military commanders today and faced silence.
They were not embarrassed. How slumped over and exhausted this fool is to have to do things like a president when he's not even. If you had told me this was like a Marx Brothers movie or a Chaplin movie where we're playing a literal like game of comedy errors, I would have accepted that more than whatever this shit is, because it's embarrassing.
Thank you very much, Pete. Great job you're doing, too. Fantastic job. I've never walked into a room so silent before. This is very... Oh, don't laugh. You're not allowed to do that. You know what? Just have a good time. And if you want to applaud, you applaud.
No.
And if you want to do anything you want, you can do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank. There goes your future. But you just feel nice and loose, okay? Because we're all on the same team. And
the fact that he says stuff like this to people who have been taught discipline, people who have been taught respect, and threaten them open mouth in front of cameras with their ranks. I
was told that, sir, you won't hear a murmur in the room. I said, we got to loosen these guys up a little bit. So
there are commanders of our military forces. They don't need to be loosened up. They need to be back at their posts, making sure that the world is safe, which is their jobs.
You just have a good time.
Oh my gosh.
He didn't loosen them up. No. They didn't have a good time.
No.
They didn't applaud. Politely applauded only at the end. Donald Trump lied to the commanders repeatedly, and they knew it. He told them Ukraine is the worst war since World War II. Everyone sitting in that room knows that the war Donald Trump avoided by getting a doctor's excuse, the Vietnam War, which in Vietnam is correctly called the American War, killed over 4 million people. It was in what was then South Vietnam, North Vietnam, and as the United States spread the war into Cambodia and Laos, the war across those borders was much worse than what you're seeing in Ukraine. And he insulted the commanders with his lies about war. He told them that Portland, Oregon, quote, looks like a war zone. Spoken by someone who has no idea what a war zone looks like.
Exactly.
Everyone in his audience knows what a war zone looks like. Everyone in his audience today knew that Donald Trump was lying. Donald Trump was telling the kind of lie that should concern his doctors and his family when he said Portland looks like a war zone. He hallucinated dialogue that has never happened. And his 79-year-old brain cells couldn't find words that were right there, just out of reach, like this.
The Iran nuclear power, the Iran, all of the great power that we thought existed, we blew it out to kingdom. We took advantage of it.
What is he talking about?
We blew it out to kingdom. Of course, what he wanted to say was, we blew it out to kingdom come. That is the phrase he grew up with. That is the phrase he has known most of his life. But that word combination is lost to his failing brain now. And there is also the possibility that his failing brain thinks that he actually did say kingdom come when he only said kingdom. Because that's the way brain failure works. And an obviously unhealthy 79-year-old man struggling and failing to make sense about anything. Generals flew across oceans, admirals crossed the world to come and listen to the most ridiculous person who has ever stood before them to discuss walking downstairs.
We were not respected with Biden. They looked at him falling downstairs every day. Every day the guy's falling downstairs.
What are you even talking about?
It's not our president. We can't have it. I'm very careful, you know, when I walk downstairs, or like I'm on stairs, like these stairs, I walk very...
I get to pause, and if I want, just end this, because I'm watching recaps. I cannot imagine. I feel so much deep empathy for our military generals, admirals, and top brass officials that had to sit through this nightmare stoically when they could have been doing their jobs. This is insane, the level of embarrassment I'm feeling right now.
Very slowly. Nobody has to set a record. Just try not to fall, because it doesn't work out well. A few of our presidents have fallen, and it became a part of their legacy. We don't want that. You walk nice and easy. You don't have to set any record. Be cool. Be cool when you walk down, but don't bop down the stairs. So one thing with Obama, I had zero respect for him as a president, but he would bop down those stairs. I've never said, da-da, 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 bop, bop, bop. He'd go down the stairs, wouldn't hold on. I said, it's great.
First of all, because Barack Obama is way fit than your ass will ever be. But what does this have to do with why you called our top brass into a very ridiculous meeting? What? I don't
want to do it. I guess I could do it, but eventually bad things are going to happen, and it only takes once.
Imagine crossing 10 time zones to hear that. This is an emergency for the United States of America and the world, and those generals and admirals know that. They know that their commander-in-chief is lost. They saw him today. They listened to him today. And it was unlike anything they have ever listened to before in their lives. It is much worse than the first version of Donald Trump they saw in his first term as president. What they saw was something much worse than a president falling downstairs, and they all know it. They were forced to listen to the most ignorant man in the room tell them that he is the first person in the world to figure out how to stop wars.
Wow.
The Department of War, I love the name. I think it's so great. I think it stops wars.
No, it doesn't. Why would you think naming something the Department of War would stop war? We literally called ourselves the Department of Defense because we wanted to get away from war. World War I took millions of lives from ourselves, our allies, and the enemy. Millions of lives lost, and those were young soldiers. Same for World War II. The war to end all wars, they said it was going to be. Millions of innocent people died. And it forced our hands into a war that our allies against the Axis fought bravely, but we still lost millions of soldiers, naval men, airmen, infantry that their families had to go on without them. And in the 1950s, after the Korean War, which my grandfather served in that, my other grandfather served in World War II, our powers started to realize these wars they're not doing anything right for us. War crimes are not okay. If we hadn't have jumped into Vietnam, which was Richard Nixon's baby, and an ugly baby it was, we could have contended with actual peace for years. Then we had that fucking war in Afghanistan against Iraq that took soldiers away from their families. There were men who did so many tours that they left infant children behind and came back to full-grown adults. War is not good for average American citizens. War is not good for average citizens anywhere. That is why we decided to become the Department of Defense. It is not wokeness to want to defend from conflict. It is bad for business to want to be people that want to start conflict by causing war crimes for Venezuelan fishermen, by declaring U.S. citizens your enemies to attack. And this case for the 25th Amendment is not making it any better for any of us.
The Department of War is going to stop wars.
No, it's not.
He believes it. Imagine standing, talking to graduates of West Point, graduates of Annapolis, graduates of the Air Force Academy, and telling them that the name Department of War, which is still not the legal name of the Defense Department, will stop wars. No one in that room has ever heard a stupider statement in their lives. They know the president is not well. He looked and sounded physically drained today. He also sounded deranged and was hallucinating. And the military commanders in that room today all have to be wondering tonight just how much more dangerous their jobs are now, that they've just seen how lost and sick their commander-in-chief is. Donald Trump complained to his military audience today that people make up things that he says.
No.
And it's hard, they make up a statement and they say,
this is the problem I've had with Trumpers that I know, is that you're literally watching in 4K this idiot say all this, yet they will still stick their fingers in their ears and their hands over their eyes and say, nope, I didn't see it, so it can't be real. You can't logic with the illogical.
Say, we had 25 people that said he never said that.
What?
Donald Trump actually complained to that military audience today that people make up things that he says. And he said that the day after he completely made up words to put in Chuck Schumer's mouth through AI that he then posted on social media around this time last night. completely changing through AI the words that Chuck Schumer said after meeting with Donald Trump in the White House. And in that AI video, Donald Trump made Chuck Schumer almost as profane as Donald Trump is publicly, which of course you know is not Chuck Schumer. Donald Trump used manipulated video. He falsely dressed the Democratic leader of the House of Representatives, Hakeem Jeffries, in a Mexican sombrero. No Democrat has ever done that to Donald Trump.
And
it is inconceivable that a president of the United States would put out a fake video of the Senate minority leader and the House minority leader. That would not happen, could not happen. But because Donald Trump has lost his mind, and Republicans in Congress accept that Donald Trump has lost his mind, the Republican Party cheers on his public madness. And because not one Republican found fault with the ugly and insane video that Donald Trump posted last night, he has decided to create and post another one tonight. And this one includes me. It's a clip of this program last night of Hakeem Jeffries responding to the racist video that Donald Trump created about him last night. And this one tonight is another demonstration of the depths of Donald Trump's depravity, his perversity. A deep and unyielding perversity beyond anything we have ever seen in American politics. The President of the United States is now a weary, snarling viper of political perversity, and every commander in the American military has now seen that and knows that.
Yep. And thank you, Lawrence O'Donnell. I don't get to watch a lot of MSNBC anymore. It's just not my jam normally. But when I listened to that earlier, I was like, no, I've got to share this, because he definitely is saying what I'm feeling right now. We are in such dangerous times with a dumbass dictator, and people are still playing games. Old eyeliner, couch fucker, J.D. Vance sitting there talking about, well, is Hakeem Jeffries a Mexican? Why is he so offended by the sombrero? It's not the hat wear, you dummy. It's the fact that they chose that to insult him. Thus insulted the whole culture of people who do live here, whether they immigrated or whether they are born on this soil, because there are Mexican Americans who are generations in this bitch now, especially since you took over Texas, which was a part of Mexico, along with New Mexico, Arizona, and all those other southern states that align the border. You can't dodge racism when you're doing it in our faces. You might be able to play in the faces of your MAGA base, but those of us who have dealt with microaggressions all our fucking lives know when you are using a trope to mock our ethnicity while dunking on another culture of people. Now, I got this anonymous video to play to wrap things up, because they have some words for Hertzgerf and his ridiculousness at that Pet Boy rally, waste of our general's time. So I'm going to get this one fired up while I get some more stuff done on Lots of Love, because this is just heating me up, y'all. And I'm trying to get into Zen mode, but it is really hard.
Blessed be our new founding fathers.
We are anonymous. We are the voice without a face. The storm money cannot buy. The shadow that power cannot silence. We do not forgive. We do not forget. And tonight we reveal the chaos and the backlash behind Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth's reckless display at Quantico, Virginia, where they summoned nearly 800 of America's most senior generals and admirals in what they claimed was a demonstration of strength, but what in truth was nothing more than a dangerous circus. The Ministry of Defense itself responded with a quiet counteroffensive because what happened in that room was not strategy. It was theater, a performance of loyalty tests and authoritarian fantasies dressed up as leadership. When Trump walked into that room, it was silent, so silent that even he grew uncomfortable.
Never walked into a room so silent before. This is very... Don't laugh, you're not allowed to do that.
He begged the officers not to laugh, pleaded with them to applaud only when he allowed it. He called himself a man of common sense, a smart person, but immediately undercut himself by admitting smart people don't like me.
A man with great common sense and a smart person. Smart people don't like me, and they don't like what we talk about.
His contradictions exposed what the generals already knew. This man is not a commander. He is a clown, a hypocrite in a suit pretending to command respect. Trump repeated his tired lie, claiming he knew more about ISIS than the generals did, boasting about strategies he never had, hiding his ignorance behind excuses that he couldn't share his plan for fear of the enemy.
I know more about ISIS than the generals do, believe me.
But the truth was plain to all. He never had a plan, only arrogance.
The reason I don't want to answer, because I don't want to tell the enemy. If I win, I don't want to have to... Does that make sense?
If he wanted secrecy, why summon all the top brass into a single room, making them sitting ducks, a single target, a reckless...
Exactly. A threat to literal national security. It shouldn't even have to be said how stupid it was to even telegraph something like that. But these people are about stunts. They're not about substance. They're about reckless displays of power that could have ended horribly for our military. I just don't understand it.
Gathering that put the nation at risk. The answer is ego. Pete Hegseth made it worse. Now calling himself Secretary of War, he ordered those 800 generals and admirals to abandon their global posts and travel in person, even though secure communication lines exist. Retired Lieutenant General...
Remember, Signalgate. We are run by stunt queens. It's embarrassing at this point. I just don't get why... People don't understand that Pete Hegseth, as I keep calling him because I really love fucking with his name, literally leaked confidential military strike on Signal, where a reporter that was added, for some god reason, to the conversation was able to say, hey, I really didn't know I was supposed to be in on that, but did you hear what I got to say? Signalgate wasn't even that long ago. But that would have still been less dangerous to our military than having them all in one area and telegraphing that to our world, including those who seek us out as enemies.
General Mark Hertling warned it was a gift to America's enemies, a perfect opportunity for havoc. Others said outright, that's a target. Some generals admitted that they felt like sitting ducks. This was not about national security. It was about staging a loyalty rally for Trump's ego. And what followed was a rant that should have been an email. For 90 minutes, Hegseth mocked fat generals, sneered about dudes in dresses, and railed against diversity, climate change, equal opportunity programs, and identity months. This wasn't strategy. It was culture war propaganda and pandering to MAGA talking points. Defense officials later fumed. They called the event a dangerous spectacle, an inexcusable strategic risk, and a total waste of money. One former Pentagon leader said bluntly, it could have been an email. Another described it as a loyalty test, disguised as a briefing. This wasn't leadership. It was humiliation. Trump even threatened careers directly. If you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave. But there goes your rank. There goes your future. That is not democracy. That is dictatorship. And though Trump sputtered, I'm not a dictator, every word and threat he made revealed exactly that.
You want to applaud, you applaud.
And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator.
You can do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room.
We cannot forget Hegseth's record. He is already under investigation for leaking classified military attack plans on a signal chat that included journalists. He exposed operational details of U.S. airstrikes in Yemen, a stunning breach of security. His staff were accused of deleting messages, obstructing oversight. The Pentagon's Inspector General is preparing damning findings. And yet here he stood, lecturing America's generals on discipline and loyalty while himself embodying recklessness, ignorance, and corruption. He also announced sweeping changes inside the Department of Defense, restructuring the Inspector General's office, silencing whistleblowers, stripping away anonymous complaint rights, and weakening protections against discrimination. He claimed the IG had been weaponized, but the truth is he is dismantling oversight to protect himself and Trump. Trump, meanwhile, floated even more dangerous ideas. He suggested using American cities, Chicago, San Francisco, as training grounds for troops.
And that's insane to me. I have lived long enough as a Gen Xer to see 9 presidencies. And never in my life did I think I would ever live through a president who declared open war on American citizens. When I say the measure of betrayal that I feel right now is great, I can't. I cannot understand how people are okay with this. I just don't. And their behavior is just so dangerous. You want to be a mob boss, Trump? You want to run our country like a mafia boss, failed one would? Play that shit in The Sims. Step down as POTUS and do your dealings with the Saudis and Qatar and all that stuff through your son-in-law. Don't use our presidency to do this horrible shit and destroy our nation. I don't understand it. I really don't.
Called unrest, a war from within. He proposed sending soldiers into U.S. streets as occupiers, trampling the Constitution and posse comitatus, crossing the line into authoritarian rule. And he told the generals that anyone opposed could leave, but would lose everything. This was not a strategy session. It was a dictator's audition. And this is where the counteroffensive began. The Ministry of Defense, the true military professionals, launched their quiet resistance. Their weapon was silence. No applause, no validation, no endorsement of Trump's performance. Officials privately ridiculed the event as a press conference disguised as strategy. Retired and current leaders whispered their disgust. Some refused to carry out orders tied to ideology instead of defense. Some redirected authority quietly, protecting the chain of command from being poisoned by Trump and Hegseth's cult. The counteroffensive was not loud, but it was real. It was the defense of the Constitution from within. This is the truth. Trump is no commander-in-chief. He is a liability. Hegseth is no secretary of defense. He is a puppet. They sought to turn the Pentagon into a stage for propaganda. But the Ministry of Defense itself has drawn the line. They will not bend. They will not sacrifice America's security for Trump's ego. Their counteroffensive is the refusal to legitimize him, the refusal to risk readiness, the refusal to abandon their oath. Trump wanted applause. He got silence. He wanted loyalty. He got resistance. He wanted strength. He revealed weakness. We are anonymous. We are the voice without a face. The storm money cannot buy. The echo that...
And to just follow up with what Anonymous is saying, because I don't know a sitting American, whether you think you're a patriot or not, should be okay with this nonsense. With potential civilians being threatened as enemies by our sitting POTUS. I don't know why these people think it's okay to be this blatantly corrupt, this blatantly dishonest with the whole American people. I don't know why their loyal think this is a show of strength when real strong leaders keep our nation together, keep us whole, keep us prosperous, keep us from infighting to the point of demise. But you are going to dumb us down into a point of just destruction. All the while letting these meathead idiots with more problems than decorations run us into the ground. Those generals shouldn't have had to sit there. Those admirals shouldn't have had to sit there. Those top brass shouldn't have had to risk their safety and security to sit in that room and be insulted by two doofuses who do not have a fraction of their honors, a fraction of their actual support, a fraction of their dedication to our Constitution and to our country. Yet we play these stupid games with people who they just want to be openly bigoted. You can't convince me anymore that that is not a MAGA's goal. I watched a short earlier where this man that I sometimes play had a wannabe MAGA throughout his life. This dude who was from Canada, which you can't, for the life of me, I do not understand Canadian MAGA. It's not even your country normally. But you emigrated from our neighbors to the north to support fascism and threaten an American citizen who speaks out against it. This is the kind of people backing this regime. The guy has a laundry list, and maybe I'll play that short on Friday because it's not short. It's actually a video that he did, a 9-minute video showing all the receipts on this Canadian fraudster who has committed all kinds of alleged, I have to say alleged because he hasn't been convicted yet, fraud. Frauding employees, potential arson, non-payment of rent. The list goes on. And then he faked trying to be affiliated with a biker gang. Because that's all these people have. Fakeness and fraudness and false bravado. Bunch of fucking keyboard warriors who you called them out to their face. Like that Stephen Miller uncircumcised penis looking motherfucker who had the nerve to get on there trying again, which I talked about on Tuesday, to stoke the divide and say liberals are out of their minds and they're attacking us conservatives, but we're going to fight back. Well, we're over here just minding our business, protecting our peace. They are loud, they are wrong, and they keep repeating lies because in their brain, a lie repeated becomes the truth. And for some morons, it really does work like that. That fact that they can repeat lies over and over and over again. Their base not only eats it up, but they repeat it. Even when you counter them with facts, they will put their hands in their ears and go, no, 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 no. I don't want to see your facts. It hurts my feelings. I don't like it. You know, as a mom, I loved my kid when he was little, but I did not negotiate with a tantrum toddler. I taught him the discipline of not throwing himself on the ground and screaming when he didn't get what he wants. Yeah, we are allowing this doddering, almost 80-year-old toddler man to not only embarrass our military, but to repeatedly just offend anybody with a shred of intelligence. He can say things like, the smart people don't like me, and then call himself smart. He can say that we don't want to cause wars, but we're changing the name from the Department of Defense to the Department of War, because calling ourselves war drivers will obviously not get us in the wars as we start unnecessary conflict with literal allied countries. You can't make idiocy make sense. When we are in idiotic times, and the best thing we can do, especially those of us who are liberal, whether we are in the middle, far left, or centrist, to protect our peace, vote in our local and state elections. Get our House of Representatives out of Mike Johnson's hands, because he's a fucking clown who acts like, well, if I didn't see it, I don't know what you're talking about. And into the adults' hands again, because we cannot keep risking our nation on these buffoons. Now, I'm about ready to wrap this up, but I'm going to put this picture here because I already gave my friend his chopper. So I'm going to show you my finished paint job. He loved it. Greg brought it in for him. He put it on his work area. It was really nice. He was very happy. I'm sorry I didn't get to show you the actual figure on camera like that. But unfortunately for me, I was so excited to get it to him that I gave it to him first and foremost. And he is very happy with his painted chopper. I'm going to finish Lots of Love Lamb. I'm going to wrap this up. Red Baron, thank you so much for sitting in on me, with me on this. I will be back on Tuesday with an all-new Craft and Chat. I just want to say that I'm not here to fearmonger. I'm not here to make people feel bad if you voted for this and then you realize this was not what I signed up for. I am begging you to let go your pride. Let go your need to try to be right in this situation and help us try to mitigate the damage. Help us try to be a stopping force to this administration's ridiculous deeds. Because if we don't, we are all going to fail. But I will be back on Tuesday. Thank you for sitting in. And I will see you next time. The link to my affiliate link for Tripo Studios, if you want to make your own 3D STL files, please consider joining and using my link. I will have that in the description of this video. Once again, I will see you Tuesday.